I'm going to tell you how to actually become a professional freelance translator and what it actually takes and what you actually need. So, hi, my name is Jan Capone. I'm a professional technical translator. I've been doing this job for over 15 years. I translate from English, German, and French into Czech. And these are just a few tips I will give to every aspiring freelance translator. So first things first. So let's start with what you will actually need, what skills you will need if you want to become a professional translator. So first of all is the source language. This is the language you will be translating from into your native language. So in this case, my source languages are English, German, and French, and my target language is Czech. So now let's this very first important question. How good do you actually need to be in your source language? Well, you need to be pretty good, but certainly not perfect. Well, based on my experience, I would say the C1 level would suffice. I think you would even get away with a rock solid B2, but you will probably spend a bit more time consulting your dictionary. When I tested myself last time, I don't know, 10 years ago, I actually ended up just a few points below the C2 mark. So I could say I have a rock solid C1 and I'm doing fairly well. I certainly do use my dictionaries, but this is mostly to look up very specialized words or synonyms. Yes, I pretty much look at a sentence in English and I can mostly immediately say what the translation into Czech would be. Same with German. In French, well, I think I'm at B2 in French, I would say. And yes, it's not that easy, but I can still manage somehow. Although it certainly takes me more time to translate from French into Czech than from English or German into Czech. Well, curiously enough, you also need to know your source language very well in order to identify mistakes in the source text and to somehow deduce what the author is trying to say, especially when such text is written by a non-native speaker. You know, you have some technical manual written in Malaysia, and you know, Malaysian engineers, they are probably very good engineers, but they are not that good at English. So sometimes you just need to deduce what they were trying to say. Well, but by the way, being able to identify factual or grammar mistakes in the source can also earn you a few points when you alert your agency to the mistakes in the source text. And what it actually means to be at the C1 level. It means that you are pretty much able to fully function in your source language. You can easily read texts in newspapers, in books. You understand almost everything what is being said in radio, TV, or in movies. And you can write text at some reasonable level that will be very well understandable to other native or non-native speakers. Well, in terms of being at an even greater or higher level, the C2, that officially means to be fully comparable to an educated native speaker. But I have my doubts, because I have read a question at Quora the other day, and it was posed by a C2 German speaker who complained, I quote, I am at the C2 level in German, but I still make mistakes with articles, so native Germans tends to correct me, which upsets me a lot, especially in business meetings. I think it's really difficult to achieve the true C2 native-like proficiency, and frankly speaking, from the translator's perspective, I believe it's nice to be at such a level, but it's certainly not needed. Well, what you need to do is to fully understand the written text with all its nuances so that you can render it into your target native language. And now, a few points about your native language. This is a deal breaker. You just need to know your own language fairly better than most other speakers of your language. You certainly don't need to be perfect, but you must be able to write without serious grammar mistakes. That would otherwise upset your target audience. And if you cannot do this, then this career, I am afraid, is not for you. Well, if you really want to be a translator and you know you suck at grammar of your own native language, then I would suggest you focus on this. Hire a private teacher, study the grammar rules hard, write a lot, have it corrected by your teacher, and most importantly, read. Read really, really, very, very a lot. Because you need to read quality literature, you need to read quality translations, and you just need to get the grammar and vocabulary into your blood, as we say in Czech. I read a lot in Czech when I was a teenager, and I read a lot in English, German, and French when I was at the university. And well, frankly speaking, sometimes I miss those times when you just read those lovely German words like Klamotten or hübsch. You don't just read these words in technical manuals anymore. Well, but I digress. Well, again, it's not needed to be perfect at your native language. You just need to be good enough. You need to be better than average Joe, and you will be doing quite okay. Now, another question. Should you only translate into your native language? Well, when I started in the industry, I used to actually translate in both directions, but I soon discovered that I can simply do more work and thus money if I translate just into my native language, into Czech. And I even did a few jobs when I translated between two non-native languages, between English and German, but that was completely crazy because it actually took me 2 times more time. My thoughts on translating into non-native language are this. This is sometimes done because there simply aren't that many native Czech English translators around. And if there are, they usually work for much higher rates than native Czechs because, well, the cost of living in the UK, USA, and so on is quite a bit higher. Also, this is what I have observed. While there might be some Brits or Americans who understand and speak Czech and can, of course, write very well in English, the problem is that they actually do not understand Czech that well. Not with all the nuances, they might pretty much misinterpret the meaning of more complex sentences. That's because, well, let's face it, Czech is a pretty small and insignificant language compared to English, French, or Spanish. So only enthusiasts or bilingual children actually learn it. There are only few foreigners with any formal education certifying their skills in Czech. But, well, except for Egypt, because in Egypt, everyone working in the tourist industry can speak almost perfect Czech. And, well, in such a case, do you want to have your text translated by a native Czech who understands the source perfectly, got some C1 or C2 certificate in English, and can therefore render the text into English fairly accurately, even when the translation might sometimes sound funny or clumsy to a native Brit or American? Or do you want to have your text translated into perfect English, but by someone who has Czech as a hobby language and does not necessarily fully understand it? Well, it's a question you need to pose to yourself. Well, then we have another question, and that's education. Yes, you can get a dedicated education as a translator, a degree in translation. In the Czech Republic, this is perceived as very prestigious among language students. When I checked last time, it was pretty tough to get enrolled into the Institute of Translation Studies at the Charles University in Prague as a student. And well, what do the students actually get when they study this program? When they finish their studies, they are very good at their native language, which is Czech in this case, and have a very high degree in their selected foreign language, foreign tongue. They also know lots about grammar and syntax, and I think they also study some history and literature of those respective countries where that foreign language is spoken. And also they get probably lots of practical experience with translation and interpreting. Well, this all sounds pretty amazing, but imagine this. You have a manual for a medical machine, for some medical device, a highly specialized text with lots of specialized terminology. And readers are required to have some medical background to fully and clearly understand the text, to be able to fully understand it. And now the obvious question is, who would you choose to translate this? A professional translator with a degree in translation? Or a medical engineer or a doctor who just happens to speak and read English fairly well? Huh? That's a question. Yes, this is certainly why there are so many translators without any formal education in translation, because it's certainly a nice to have qualification, but it's actually not that necessary. Then we have another question, and that's the question of specialization. You will often read this on translation forums. Specialization is the key. Well, yes and no. I started in this industry pretty much without any specialization at all. I didn't even know what the word workpiece stood for. Seriously, I never had the Czech word obrobek in Czech before. But it's true that I have always liked technology, read a great many of popular magazines on technology, science, and nature. So I was basically able to understand what was being told. And with the help of my dictionary, I was somehow able to deliver translations that weren't total bullshit. And of course, with more and more translated pages delivered, I got better and better at this. Anyway, this is by all means. It is by all means better to be specialized at some or in some domain, because you will understand the text better and quicker, and you will be able to use the right terminology. And how do you get any specialization actually? It's good to have some formal education or work experience in your respective field, or to have translated thousands of pages in this domain. This will certainly make you very much specialized. But specialization is not always that important. With modern CAT tools, especially with the terminology and translation memory lookup features, you can actually translate texts that do not really fall into your specialization domain. You just need to understand what is being said. And the CAT tool terminology feature will offer the right vocabulary for you to use. Another question, translation tests. I have pretty much a strong opinion on translation tests, and I will put a link into the description where you can read the whole article. But to sum it up, as a seasoned translator, I do not mostly provide free of charge translation tests. I have had my profile on pros.com or translatorscafe.com for over 10 years, maybe even more. So agencies can mostly kind of look at it and see that I'm probably not completely incompetent in this field. As a beginner translator, however, you will probably have to do some tests. You just need to suck it up and deliver them free of charge in order to build up some customer portfolio. Don't get discouraged if they reject your tests. This sometimes happens even to me after 15 years in this industry. And it might be that the corrector has had a bad day, they do not like your style, or they might even be afraid for their translator's position, and they try to turn down other translators' tests. Yes, this is a very nasty domain, and this happens. Well, what you can do is to just take a look at what they have corrected in your test. And if they have objectively corrected some serious mistakes, then just learn from them. Next time, try to pay closer attention to your grammar, look up the terminology a little bit more carefully, and so on. But if it's just the style, or they have just reordered the words in your sentences or replaced something by equivalent synonyms, then they cannot be taken seriously, and don't worry about the tests. Just move on, try it with another agency. Then there is this another question, pros.com and Translation Cafe and other translation portals. I would say it's a really good idea to have your profile on pros.com or translatorscafe.com. Links will be again in the description below this video, or on some other translation portal in your country, which will be native to your country. Start with the free of charge option. I have had a good experience with pros.com or translatorscafe.com. They will throw some job offers your way even if you have the free membership with them. Sign up to their mailing list. They will send you regular notifications of jobs posted by agencies or, very exceptionally, direct clients. I would suggest you reply to most of these jobs offers, provided they have at least a rating 4 on their Blue Board. Blue Board is a special board on this portal or portals where you can actually see the rating of these agencies. If they have a very low rating, then it means it's really not that good an idea to work with them. I personally work with mostly with people who have at least 4.8, 4.9, because I don't want to have any problems with translation management or with payments, and that frequently happens, especially with agencies below the rating 4.0. So if there is something like 3.5, it's not gonna be a good agency to work with. Well, I have also had a good experience approaching the agencies directly. I started in my hometown, just went there in person, went to an agency or to our agencies in person, and I just asked for collaboration. And they gave me some tests. I returned them, fully and duly completed, and it was a success. They started sending me translation jobs, so I was a happy camper. Of course, you can save the time and start sending your resumes by email. I did that here and there in the Czech Republic, and it was a successful strategy. I got enough regular jobs to be able to start working as a full-time translator. Then we have the question of financial remuneration. So in the beginning, you will probably not make that much money in this field, and there are two reasons for that. Reason number one is that you don't have enough experience, so it will take you really much time to translate reasonable volumes. I would say you start at some 200-300 words per hour, which is really not that much, but you can make nice money with that, but you won't become a millionaire overnight on this. No, that's not possible. But you should make enough money to survive in relative comfort. At least here in the Czech Republic, you would. By getting enough experience and by utilizing special translators tools, which are called CAT tools or computer-aided translation tools, you will gradually progress towards some 500 or 700 words per hour. And I have even developed my own super specialized tool to be able to translate much quicker. So sometimes when the text is not that complicated, I can even deliver some 1000 or even 1500 words per hour, and that's really very much okay. It's very reasonable, and you will make a very good income on this. And reason number two, you will be hunting jobs, so it's very reasonable not to overshoot with a too high rate, because you will be happy to get your hands on whatever jobs you can possibly get. What you can do is to look at standard rates for your language combination. You can Google it, or you can check it at a link. It's a pros.com link, and I will put this link again into description. But be careful, because these rates are a bit overshot. I would say by some by some 30%. And as they say on this webpage, this page lists, I quote, this page lists the average rates reported by pros.com's community of freelance translators and translation companies. So it's just what the translators say they charge, but the real numbers can be somewhere else. But don't get too excited with these rates. Remember, the rate is not everything. If you get a very easy to translate project, chances are you will progress very quickly. So even a lower rate will financially give a very good overall remuneration for you. Well, on the other hand, when you get a difficult project, though with a higher rate, you will spend so much time on it that all in all, you will actually make less money per hour. So you have to do your own calculations. Also, believe me, you want to work with someone nice, respectful, and professional. They are much better for the long-term work, even if they don't pay that much. It's much better than assholes paying 10% more, but treating you like a piece of shit. Well, then we have another question, and these are the so-called kudos points. Kudos points are a way of how to move your profile up in the dictionary on the pros.com portal. Yes, if you are higher in this profile, perhaps on the first page, chances are you will get more and better paid jobs. And what are actually kudos points? They are awarded to translators who answer other translators' questions, and it works like this. First, a translator posts a question, usually a term he or she does not know how to translate. Second, other translators enter their answers. Third, the asker picks an answer he thinks is the best. And fourth, the translator who posted the picked answer will be awarded some 4 kudos points. Well, I am a lazy kudos person myself, so I was only able to gather some 80 kudos points over the years. But my guess is that you probably should get some kudos points in order to get a bit higher in the dictionary list. But there are a few things you should be aware of. First, it's very competitive. The other translators simply want the kudos points really badly. So answers will often be posted within seconds. Also, they will comment, criticize your answer, so be prepared for that. Some of them can be real assholes. Some other translators can be really real assholes trying to impress some virtual customers they think they might get on this portal when they pull off their smart-ass thing. Well, personally, I always untick the notify me of peers answers checkbox, as I am simply not really interested in their smart asses commenting on my answers. Yes, after some 13 years in this industry and a pile of money made on translations, I still feel very insecure when it comes to confrontation with other translators. Or maybe I just have better things to do than worrying about a rando's opinion. Another question. Professional membership on translation portals. I have very mixed feelings about this. I used to have a membership on a Czech portal, then on translatorscafe.com, then with ATA, American Translators Association, and I still do maintain my membership on pros.com, which reminds me that I need to pay it for this year. Well, anyway, the Czech portal membership was completely useless. It didn't really bring me any customers. I don't remember getting any long-term customers from Translators Cafe either. ATA membership is relatively expensive, and my 1-year membership just paid for itself when I got one and only job from it. So I still maintain the pros.com membership. I get some 2 or 3 serious customers from this portal every year, which is pretty much enough for me. I do have my stable customer base, which I prune from time to time. I just need to terminate arrogant and annoying agencies every now and then. And yeah, so then another question. This is the pros.com Certified Pro badge. This is a special badge you can get to your profile on pros.com when you pass their tests. And yes, this badge will put you close to the top of the translation directory list. But the test itself consists just of some text you can choose and translate yourself and submit along with the source text. Then a seasoned translator, that means a translator who has had their profile on pros.com for a couple of years. So such a translator will review your translation And I have done such reviews a couple of times myself, and I have always approved that any such translation with a passed with hesitation remark. I cannot be sure if there are any multiple translators reviewing such texts. Anyway, sorry. To me, it seems pretty easy to pass such a test. So there is an abundance of translator with this badge today. But I'm not really sure if this badge actually says anything on a translator's ability to actually translate text. In the worst case scenario, such translator can have the text translated by someone else and deliver it as his or her own translation for this review. Anyway, I would recommend you to get this badge because it will certainly not hurt you in any way and it can perhaps somehow help you.